There are stories that connect us to ourselves and to each other. These stories reveal who we are and show us the many vivid colors of our truth. Welcome to Soul Wanderings, where we raise spiritual awareness and foster connections through these shared stories and personal experiences. Now, exclusively on KGRA Digital Broadcasting, your hosts, AJ and Natalie.
Hello, our beautiful wanderers. It's Wednesday night, and we are so excited to be with you.
Yes,
right?
We are.
I'm AJ.
And I'm Natalie.
And it's Soul Wanderings tonight. Welcome, welcome. We are heard on KGRA Digital Broadcasting. You can listen to us on kgradb.com, as well as KGRA Digital Broadcasting Facebook and Rumble pages, and replays on those places, on those platforms, as well as all of the others, minus YouTube.
Well, you know.
And soulwanderings.com. And to learn more about me and Natalie, go to soulwanderings.com or kgradb.com. And you can learn a little bit more if you're new.
About us.
And if you're new, welcome.
Yeah.
And if you're a return listener, welcome, welcome. I see you all piling in the chat rooms. That makes my heart happy. How you doing, Miss Natalie?
Oh, you know, it's good. I'm, navigating. I didn't start my day the happiest, but
Aww.
I'm good. Had someone tell me today, even on a really horrible day, I'm like 85%. I'm like, I think that's pretty good feedback to say. I feel like it's just, I'm a pretty I really do pride myself on being grounded.
You are that person. You are like the tree of life. That's how I see you.
Aww.
Your roots are deeply, deeply into the earth's core.
It's just like my tree. I have two really big trees in my backyard. One that's really, really big. So I don't even know how old it is, but really, really big mulberry. I like that tree.
Ah, mulberry.
So even when I'm having an emotional thing that happens, I'm just riding it. Learn to ride the waves.
Yeah.
Just have an emotional experience, but I'm good. I've definitely learned to roll with life and be in the flow. And even
you
with
are
that,
a great teacher that way to all of us.
It's like, well, if you're having an emotional experience, it will dissipate. Let's see how long you can hold on to the surfboard while you surf those waves.
True that. And isn't that the truth? Oh my gosh. That's so accurate. Well, I'm glad you brought your smile as always, even on a more challenging day.
Yes. It's like, well, let's see how this works out. Stay tuned for next week to see how it all works out.
Oh, yeah.
How are you?
That's the truth, too, because my last week,
it was definitely brighter than last week.
I feel way better today than I did last week. Last week, we had such a wonky evening in the studio. Like, our guest was having troubles connecting even before the show. I don't know what took place, but we were like, should we do the show?
There's some times where maybe it's like
it fell off from the beginning. And I'm like, no, we must move on. We are dedicated to the cause.
You are persistent, and
the
show will go on. Nope. You don't know when enough is enough.
I don't know when enough is enough. And, the whole time I'm so grateful that we were here, but it was like, I would have to say it was up there in my top painful headache nights. And I was just like pushing through.
You did. I was like, man,
I don't even remember driving home, which is not safe. I don't want lectures about it. I wasn't aware until I got home how bad it really was.
I think you took all your Angel squad with you.
Oh, always. I mean, my car is named Angel. And you better believe I have crystals all up in that car.
Why wouldn't you?
I mean, why wouldn't I? Of course.
Yes.
So Yeah, the last couple of weeks she's been like, AJ, how are you? And I'm like, well, but I think I'm over that hump. So
Wow. I like to hear that.
me too. And this past week I've done a lot of creating and home improvements, and I didn't take a day off. Like I just went, but I took moments of rest, which was good for me. And I feel accomplished. I feel happy. I feel creative. I feel inspired. I have like renewed energy, which I haven't felt in a really long time. But I, as well as we, have some really cool things coming up. So I'm just really excited.
I'm actually looking forward to this conversation today.
So tonight with our guest, the conversation.
Well, I always look forward to the conversation with you, but yes, with the guest.
Okay, yeah.
too.
So tonight we're going to be talking with a new guest, and we'll introduce her after the first break. But the main, obviously, we talk about their journey story, but the main topic of conversation, which she's coming on to share, is about narcissism. And that's a really big topic. I'm excited to talk about it as well. Also, where I've been surrounded by that personality type most of my life. I'm also like, because I'm like, I'm in recovery, right?
Right.
So it's like, I'm going to take a sip of the narcissistic conversation and hopefully I don't get drunk on it. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things, but I trust it. I'm really excited that there's people out there talking about it, bringing awareness and who are recovering from it themselves. So I think that's just a beautiful thing.
Yeah, I'm going to pick up some good information. I have not been surrounded by that. Or if I was surrounded by it, I was blissfully unaware.
I mean, I could see you being blissfully unaware.
I'll be like, I love you just the way you are.
Yeah.
You go get down with your bad self.
Yeah.
But I'm not involved.
Right.
In that.
I mean, and it's a thing for so many people. Mm-hmm. You're very lucky, very fortunate that hasn't been your experience.
Well, there is this one friend that we both know that occasionally I'm just like, you just go deal with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's a thing. It really is a thing. And now that I'm aware of it, right? Because it's like coming out of like, I don't even know how to explain it. When you're in it, you're in it. You know it's painful, but you don't understand like anything else. There's not an awareness of like, oh, I don't have to live like this. I don't have to be around this person. What?
Right.
Like it's not an awareness until it is an awareness.
I have to say, so I shared this office with this wonderful gentleman that had been doing social work for quite a few years. He'd had another career before that, and then he did social work, and he enjoyed it, and he was in his 70s. And he told me the way that you have a conversation with a narcissist is you tell them everything that you feel about whatever the situation is, and then you leave the room. And that was his wisdom. Because he said they're not like, and he dealt with it on the clinical level. And he said you can never expect them to care.
No.
And this is my understanding of it from a distance, that people are like, would you please care about my feelings? And he was just simply saying they're not designed to do that. They can't.
No, it's not an understanding, I don't think.
So he gave therapeutic advice to the person that would live or coexist. Well, however you're coexisting with the narcissist, he would educate the person, not the narcissist.
Right. Because it's impossible to even have a conversation with a narcissist in that space. No.
Yeah.
No, and that's very true. But even the narcissist doesn't believe they're a narcissist, right?
Well,
so
they can't have a problem.
And there's a lot of other experiences that come along with being involved with a narcissist, because they can have other characteristics.
Sure.
Like things that they do to gain power, like love bombing and gaslighting and all of these other things that just make it even more of a mind mess up. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's just like if you're on the other end of it, you feel crazy. You feel like you're the one that is the problem and has the issue because they're so easily able to manipulate conversations and situations. And before you know it, you're just like,
all
you're
turned
in like,
around
yeah, you're
topsy-turvy, huh?
exactly. I would just say you're like in this whirlwind of emotions and you don't understand like how you got from this point to that point. And not much makes sense. And the more you try to fight it or explain it, the more crazy you feel like you are.
Yeah, that's not fun.
No.
That's quite the education.
Yeah. And, I'm a big believer that we sign up for a majority of our experiences in life. I wouldn't say all, but a lot of them.
Right.
And obviously in my life, I signed up for that. But that's the beautiful thing, right? When you sign up for anything in life, whether you have that awareness or not, when you become aware, you know that you can unsign.
You're like, I think I'm done with that lesson. I'm good.
I've learned it. I'm good. And it's amazing when you come to that awareness, you don't have to have that experience anymore. It literally is a flip of a switch. And this isn't just with narcissism, this is with anything.
Right.
When you have the awareness, you can be done.
Yep.
You signed into it, you can sign out of it at any time.
Right.
And I think having that awareness and like knowing that that choice is an option is so amazing.
Isn't it
because
nice?
it is so amazing because I remember so many times where you want to get out of it but you're just like I don't know how. I just don't how because you don't have an understanding of what that looks like because that's what
Right.
even if it's for months. I mean my experiences were for most of my lifetime. And I got off that crazy train, 10 years ago? I don't know. So thank goodness for that. It's been 11 years. 11 years. I wouldn't say that it's even been that long because there were experiences after that brought me back right into the situation, even recently. But having that awareness of knowing like what type of person that is that I'm dealing with can look at it completely different and manage in a way that situation way differently than you could before.
Right. So you learn to recover quicker.
Yeah.
You dip into the water a bit and then you're like, oh, I remember this water. I don't like it here.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
I'm going to climb out of this pool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean,
that's one thing that I find about this human experience is that it doesn't mean that we get to be free of suffering or struggle. That's not really the point of, as they say, we come here to be human, to expand the consciousness. Well, the consciousness doesn't expand without stress and pressure and growth. And that expansion thing within itself is, growing pains and all that. So it's like, it's not that you're going to eliminate all suffering or struggle. It's about learning to recover quicker and moving through it differently.
Very true.
And sometimes the coping skills are not necessarily what you would think, but it's helpful that. So how did you learn? What did you do? How did you actually go about learning to pull yourself up and out of that? What
actually
sort of
the NDE was what saved my life.
Oh, so it was the consciousness knowing that it was that.
It was an illusion, basically.
Oh, you learned that it was an illusion.
Right. We're just in this big simulation. We're in this big video game.
That's
and
so big.
Although I didn't understand the concept at the time, that was what was shown to me, that it was temporary. And that when I came back to my body, it wouldn't even affect me the same. And it wasn't immediately, right? Of course, there was a lot of healing I've had to do and still do to this day. I mean, there are things that happen where I've got to stop myself and remind myself who I am. And like literally stand in my power of loving me and trusting me through whatever wave of emotion that's coming up because of that trigger. I kind of knew what I had gotten myself into to a very small degree just before, which caused part of the experience I had, which led me to the NDE, right? Because when you start questioning a narcissist,
yeah, it's not pretty.
it's not pretty. And at times can become very violent physically, emotionally, mentally. And I
they
mean,
can even be very violent, because my understanding is they often that I had an experience with a woman that came to see me after her husband. That was the time that I actually read all the criteria in the DSM-5. Was I was reading it because she was describing her husband, and he had killed himself. So there can be that. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's so much psychological warfare that goes on when you're around someone with this characteristic, with this character trait. I also haven't really shared my full story of an NDE here on the show. I've been interviewed on other shows, but this was one of the biggest things that was occurring during my experience that led me to an NDE was the whole narcissist abuse. And it really is something that I can't even put words to sometimes.
Right.
It's just so big and so unfathomable that I just don't even, like, how do you explain really the hell that it is? And people can experience on all levels. Like, they can experience it with their boss, with their spouse, with their friend, with their neighbor. I mean, unfortunately, it's a mental illness in a way.
Yeah, it is.
And people, I've heard, can recover from being a narcissist, but I just don't understand how that works. I'm not in that realm of understanding by any means, but I think the most important thing is the awareness of understanding what narcissism means.
Sure.
And doing all you can to avoid at all costs those kinds of experiences. And if it's something that you can't avoid because it's like a family member you're seeing occasionally, or a coworker or something, then learn how to navigate around people like that.
Right. So then you learned that it wasn't you.
Right. But that took many years for me to have that understanding. And it really did come down to learning to love myself. It really did. And I think our guest talks a lot about that. I honestly know very little about her. I got a little blip about her and was just like, yes, we need to have her on the show.
It's going to be a lively discussion tonight.
But I know she's all about self-love. And I imagine that came from her experiences with narcissistic abuse or something along those lines. I would guess.
I would imagine so. It would be an experience where you would have to get some on different ground within yourself.
Right. And I think the journey to self-love is something everyone gets an opportunity to experience, no matter what type of people they're dealing with around their lives. I mean, it could even be you. You could be your own worst enemy. And most times I have been, and I'm still working on that journey. But in the last few years, I would have to say, especially, I have done extra work more than ever because, over the course of the 10 years, I've learned more and more and more and have more tools in my tool belt and know how to navigate through different experiences where before I wouldn't have had those abilities. And I feel like the more empowered you become by overcoming experiences of any kind, the more you have an understanding of yourself where you can step into that space of saying, I am literally a badass and I love myself so hard right now for going through A, B, and C. And, most of my life was like that. I mean, it was a lot that one person should go through.
Right.
And there's a lot of roads I could have gone down. I could have gone down like a lot of roads, a lot of negative roads, I should say. And I know the NDE happened to me to save me literally, like I had to die to save my life.
Wow, that's part of that process.
Right. And I totally believe that if that didn't happen, I would be in a completely different life than I have now, if I would even be alive at all, honestly. And that's not exaggerating. I could
Well, you
have
did
gone down
die.
a dark road. You know what I mean?
I know. It's like, well, you're like, I would have, well, I did, but then, it gets.
Thankful for second chances. Like super, like I can't even talk about it. I'll just sit here and cry and how much gratitude.
Oh, it's so true. The self-love that I had an experience earlier talking to someone who was literally in crisis in the wee hours, and he reached out, like really in severe crisis. And he reached out, and then one of the things that I was talking to him about with the self-love is it does require for you to fully accept everything that's happened in your life, like to really, really love yourself.
And not just what's happened, but like all of who you are, the good, the
Right.
bad, the ugly, like every ounce of you.
Every.
Mhm.
So often I find that people will hold, their mistakes over their own head. And there's part of that if you really are on this journey of self-love, it's all of that. You love that too.
Mhm.
And I know we've mentioned it on a show before, but to be really, truly grateful to your younger self for having gone through the crap that they went through. Like, and instead of sending them curses backwards in time, because there really is no time, it's all now, is you just send them gratitude for growing or going through those difficult times so that you could grow to the point that where you are now. Without that, you wouldn't have that wisdom.
Absolutely.
And so it's really that important.
Once again, life is a trip.
It is a trip.
So get in, buckle up.
It's ups and downs, hills and valleys, hills and valleys.
No, yeah, it really is. And it's crazy to think about. Like, I'm not even the same person.
Oh,
I
me
look
either.
back and I'm like, wait, what? That was my life? I went through that?
Oh, there are some
Oh,
times.
yeah.
As we're talking
I'm
about
a big
this,
deal.
Oh, yes, you are a big deal. We're talking about this. I was thinking, there were some ugly, ugly times that I went through in my life that were painful. I think most people that know me now would be like, I can't see you doing that. And I'm like, yeah, there was a time I wasn't this.
Yeah,
This
right.
took a lot of work and then cleanup and then work and maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah. As it goes.
As it goes.
And that's what
okay.
life is about, right? We
Yeah.
talk about it being a big old school. We're here to learn and hopefully grow and not come back and have these experiences again. Heaven knows I don't want them again. I'm like, let's not repeat that.
It's interesting to think about that. Wonder what I'd come back and have. A nice, boring life, or I don't know.
But also, do you believe, I've heard this theory that when, how we supposedly sign up, I'm just saying supposedly, I
Right.
know my truth. Everyone has a different truth.
Right.
We sign up for these experiences, right?
Uh-huh.
And it's been said by some people that if you go through experience A in your life, that in another life, you were the other person. So, like, say I went through narcissism abuse this lifetime. In another lifetime, I was the narcissist.
Oh.
Do you believe that? I
believe that someone has to be the narcissist if someone signs up to be abused. Someone has to.
But do we have both sides of the coin?
There was this woman many years ago, this woman that I worked with, and she had some remembrances of previous lives, and she felt like this life she had to be a woman because she was not good to women previously.
I mean, and that's
we
a
had
possibility.
Conversations about that, saying, "Oh, yes, well,
anything is possible." I feel like
anything. So it could be. I don't know that that's always the case, But I think that definitely could be the case.
Right.
Maybe it was a judgment day where they're like, well, you've been judged, so you're going to be subjected to this in this next lifetime. And you're like, I didn't sign up for that. They're like, we know.
Yeah. Or, we sign up for things on repeat because we just don't learn our lesson. In this lifetime, we come back and we're the same as we were last time because
we'll just do it again until we don't.
Yeah. Or however, we don't know the truth.
No.
I know my version of the truth. I know what I've experienced, but everyone has a different experience and everyone believes in what they believe in.
I think it helps me. Well, I like to consider that I signed myself up for something. It gives me a little bit more empowerment, saying I obviously felt like
you knew what was
I could
best
do
for
it.
You. Yeah.
Or like I'd be able to do it. So I'm like, okay, well then I'm able to do it somewhere I knew that I could.
Right. I have to have that pep talk with myself also when things get really hard I don't like hard. I don't even know why I said that, but really challenging. I have to remind myself, hey girl, you signed up for this,
right?
You can get through this because you signed up for it knowing you could. So stand up,
dust yourself off, and let's get through it.
Let's get going. Speaking of get going, we're going to have to take a break. We'll be back, you guys.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated? If you struggle with focus, run low on energy, or when it's time to finally sleep, you simply can't, this can all be linked to dehydration, and Fuel Up has the answer. Our proprietary formula contains the finest cellular hydration with the strongest immune-enhancing natural ingredients. The Fuel Up system is made up of 3 different incredibly tasting varieties. Wake kickstarts your day with a jolt of caffeine. Play boosts focus while hydrating your cells. Rest not only helps you relax, but also rejuvenates your cells while you sleep. Here's what our clients have to say.
I really don't miss my coffee, and you can tell the difference.
So I'm going to take it for the energy. I'm going to take it for the play. I'm going to take it, all day.
And it works. That's the thing. It works. We love it.
Take the Fuel Up Challenge now, where we offer a Feel the Difference money-back guarantee. Fuel Up for life.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected, only at kgradb.com.
Hello, Wanderers. Welcome back. We are AJ
and Natalie,
and we're hanging out with you on Wednesday night, like always. And you can learn more about us on soulwanderings.com. We're heard all over the world through kgradb.com. Go and check out the station. There's so many good things for you to learn and experience. It's like sitting down with a friend and having a conversation.
Definitely.
If you're hanging out and chat. If not, you're just listening to them chit chat.
Even that. It's lovely entertainment.
It is.
Feed your brain.
Really is. I don't see Charles or Maria tonight as of yet, but I have to say I did hop in on their show last night, and that's what I felt like. We were just all hanging out, and it was really lovely.
Lovely.
So they're great wanderers. They hang out. In fact, Charles reminded everyone last night he was my very first person in the chat when I had my very first show.
Oh.
Him, and there was Libertas, which unfortunately he has transitioned. He was one of my favorite people. We used to talk all of the time outside of the show. But as is life.
Now he just
wanders. He's probably still chilling with us.
Probably.
Honestly.
Pops in.
Yeah. So anyway, let's get to it. We have an amazing guest. Like we said, we didn't introduce her. We've just been talking all about the topic. So let's get, I would say, professional involved.
We're always professional.
No, she would be a professional.
Get the professional involved.
The professional.
Oh, yes. That.
Let's have her come hang out with us. Ooh, there we are. Dr. Tracy Kemble is our guest tonight. She's a thought leader, entrepreneur, and empowerment expert with over 30 years experience in teaching life transformation. She's all about the self-love, people. We were just talking about that. And tonight we'll be hearing about her journey into loving herself and teaching others to do the same, as well as hearing about her latest works, her book, The Narctionary. Hello, welcome to Soul Wanderings.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
Well, we're excited to have you. It's such a big topic, and spreading the awareness is so important, in my opinion. Life-changing. For sure, the work you're doing is needed and important. So thank you for showing up and spending time with us tonight. I know it's valuable, and we appreciate you for doing so.
Oh, thank you very much.
So we love to learn all about you on Soul Wanderings, not just what you're doing now, but what has led you to the now. So why don't you share a little bit about yourself?
So my name is Dr. Tracy Kemble, and I have been in the empowerment and recovery world, well, probably since I was born, but proactively for the past 30 years, being on the front line. Of course, all of my work into learning how to be the best definition of self led to me jumping in my own petri dish. And 30 years later, I run the International Feminine Boss Academy. I run an international recovery program called Reclaiming Me, which is why I'm here today, is to talk about that program is specifically about healing from narcissistic abuse, and my book called Narctionary.
Well, that is a big deal to talk about this. First of all, you must have gone through a lot of experience to show up this way. What led you to those, what experiences did you have that led you to write a book that's so important?
So I get asked that a lot is how did you end up working in the world of narcissistic abuse? And I ended up working in the world of narcissistic abuse because I was a victim of narcissistic abuse several times in my life. And I don't like the word victim. I was victimized by narcissistic abuse several times in my life. And the reason that it was able to get to such extreme levels is because I was raised in a family unit that had narcissism in it. So the personality trait of somebody with narcissism was normalized to me. And I thought that's how everybody behaved. And so it was only when I was older in my life and uncomfortable behavior that I experienced as a child had to reach flaming levels in order for me to say, wow, I think there has to be a better way in life to live and to love. And my first book that I wrote was called The Courage to Say No More. And it was about getting out of a highly, highly abusive relationship. And at that time, 30 years ago, I entered into the recovery world. And along that journey found myself again knee deep in painful love relationship and not understanding what it was. And at the end of the day, what it was is this thing called narcissistic abuse. And as the person on the receiving end of it, somebody who was suffering from something that is called narcissistic abuse trauma, and how that perfect awful storm was able to create itself, was able to continue, and most important, how to stop the cycle, how to break the cycle, what you need to do, what you need to know, and how to do it. Just to be, my program is called Reclaiming Me, the journey from narcissistic abuse to self-love. And that's what I do. I teach people how to reclaim their life one step at a time by rebuilding their self-love foundation.
That's a big deal.
Super big deal. No foundation, slippery legs,
Right. And not always well received either. I really feel like when people start talking about it, they're either triggered or they're in denial of their experiences that they're having, or there's a little bit of pushback because not everyone necessarily believes in narcissist abuse. Would you find that to be true?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what it is right now it's such a buzzword, and we have to be very careful
right now.
Because narcissism is nothing new. It's something that's been around for centuries and centuries, right? And what we're talking about is something that is considered a spectrum disorder. All of us have narcissism in us. All of us need healthy narcissism, which healthy narcissism is right here, right? And that healthy narcissism allows us to keep the good in and push the bad out.
Mm-hmm.
As it's a spectrum disorder, it means it goes from here to here. My hands are blurry. It goes from here to here. And what happens is that as it goes on up the scale from healthy narcissism, it then merges into something called narcissistic characteristics. And narcissistic characteristics are very difficult people. As it merges on up the scale, it then goes into NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. Very problematic people. As it goes on up the scale, it then goes into antisocial personality disorder, i.e. sociopath, psychopath. Dangerous people, stay away from them. On the other side of the spectrum is something that's called self-love deficiency disorder. And so the reason that I take people on the journey to self-love is that it's the only, self-love deficiency disorder and narcissism, negative narcissism, line up on the same energetic scale. And so in order to heal, you have to disconnect and get on a new vibration level. And the only way we can do that is to really learn how to love ourselves, because narcissism and self-love deficiency disorder are the opposite sides of the same coin of trauma. You're just dealing with people who handle it and process it a different way. Mm-hmm. The reason that we have to be careful is there is a very big difference between somebody who is having a bad day and being a jerk versus somebody who actually has narcissism. We can all, they say, oh, narcissists are so selfish. They just think about themselves. We can all have that element where, I'm thinking about myself, my own needs, and I come across a bit selfish. This is somebody having a bad day. What classifies it or clarifies it to be a problem is when it begins to affect the people's lives around them. Mm-hmm. More than just like, you were a jerk today. Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. It was a lot going on, and so the reason, and what I see on social media is there's some really good, great influencers and teachers out there and everything, just doing amazing work. And then there are those who experience, a situation and suddenly they're an expert and they're not giving the right information, because dealing with narcissism versus somebody who's just being a jerk for the day are two different worlds.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. But how do we differentiate between the two? Like, how does one person understand that someone's having a bad day on repeat? Like, because sometimes we have bad weeks or bad months, and then that between someone actually having the narcissistic tendencies that they have?
Yeah, it's how much it's interwoven into their personality, I would say. You know, what one thing that's really important to me is are people who have a consistency in their personality. That I don't want to be wondering who's walking through the door every day. And if you're living or in association with somebody who you're constantly sizing them up when they walk through the door, there's a good chance you're dealing with a narcissist. Because for the most part, if we're just having a bad day, we snap out of it. We apologize, we make amends, we own our bad, and we find ways not to hurt people around us. That's because we have empathy, right? We're able to look at a situation and say, oh my gosh, I hurt the people I love. I don't want to do that. That's awful. Tracy, not snap out of it. Don't take life so tragically. But with a narcissist, they don't think that way. They will just continue. What causes the trauma, to try to answer the question as clearly as possible, what causes the trauma is the frequency and the depth that the pain goes. If I were to hit your arm once, you'd be like, hey, don't do that. If I were to continue to hit your arm in that same place, the bruise would run deep, right? So that's the same thing with the trauma and how you know the difference between somebody having a bad day and a bad life.
So would it be safe to say that someone who has narcissism lacks empathy, or is there some level of empathy in their awareness?
It depends on how far up the scale they are, but one of the main characteristics of a narcissist is that they lack empathy, that they just don't have the ability to step in another person's shoes and interpret life through those shoes. They just don't get it. It gets dangerous is that a narcissist will do something that is called fake empathy. And fake empathy is they study their target. They study them. They listen very carefully for certain buzzwords, and they're doing it all with the goal of conditioning that person to fall in love with them. I always say that being drawn into a narcissistic relationship is no different than being onboarded into a cult. That love bombing then turns into this conditioning so that you become reliant on them. And I notice your guys' expression when I say that, but it's true.
It's true. Yeah. No, I believe it. When you said it, I was like, yes. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, I know all too well what you're talking about.
Okay.
Natalie does not.
Not as well.
Not the same.
No.
Lucky you.
Right. Yeah. We were having that conversation before you came on. Like just we have an awareness of those around us who have narcissism, I would say. But just on we've just had experiences on different levels.
I mean, maybe the one relationship, but I don't really identify with that as much. And so I'm grateful of that, because when I interact with people, I don't really feel traumatized by even the most difficult relationship I had. I don't feel traumatized by it.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's great. And that's the goal. People ask me often, can you heal if you've gone through this? And the answer is absolutely yes, you can heal. You have a lot of work to do. I know that it took a lot of work. And that's one of the reasons why the book is so beneficial to people who have gone through it, because in narcissism, there's so many ghosts. And my mom raised me with this wonderful tool. And she said, Tracy, if life hurts and that pain doesn't have a name, it's like fighting a ghost, in that you can't grab a hold of it and pull it into your life and love it and mend it and heal it. Or if it doesn't best serve you, remove it from your life. But when something has a name, you can grab a hold of it, you can pull it into your life, you can love it, you can mend it. And if it doesn't best serve it, you can also remove it from your life. Mm-hmm. And what the book does is that it gives name to the many ghosts and crazy behaviors and terms that are found within narcissism, narcissistic abuse trauma, and most important, narcissistic abuse recovery.
The most important.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So in the recovery process, is there mostly the focus on the person that's been traumatized, or is there some focus on like actually having some sort of love for the narcissist, even just as they are?
Well, I mean, I think at the end of the day, not only that love is the healer of everything. I
Right.
really, really believe that. And I know that, some people say, oh, that's so fluffy. But energetically, the vibration of love is the highest vibrating emotion that we can experience. Now, the difficulty is there's a difference between love and love addiction. And a person who is involved with a narcissist, they may feel that they love this person, but to me, it's more of a love addiction, because it's impossible to really love somebody who constantly hurts you. You see, so, but it's a difficult thing. The majority of people who exit narcissistic relationships still have that love, or at least an intense connection with the narcissist.
Oh boy. Oh, she's just not wrong. It's hard to hear, right? Even after like years of being recovered from it, it's just hard to hear.
Yes. And it's confusing. I think, it's not only hard because there's a condition in a trauma condition in the world of narcissistic abuse and trauma and recovery, that it's called rumination. And rumination is, to make it in very simple terms, it's when your head and heart are living at two different places, where your heart says, but love is kind and tender, and your head has experienced the opposite within a relationship. And so they're trying to find, like, what happened, and there's no box for this. There's no box for I love you, so therefore I hurt you. Those two words just don't go together. And so this is where it can get so confusing to the victim, because we get stuck in trying to make logic out of the illogic.
Explain to us the psychology behind all of that. Like, we know going into, I mean, I shouldn't even say this is all relationship based. Like your boss or your parent or your neighbor could be the narcissist, right? It isn't necessarily a love relationship, but in the type of relationship where you're actually like involved deeply, that psychology of being so in depth in that relationship and not having an understanding of just how toxic it really is. I mean, they have a way of pulling you in and keeping you there. You said they study you and things like love bombing, and I mean there's even gaslighting, there's like all these experiences. But explain to us the psychology on how that happens. How does one get sucked into that type of relationship?
Okay, so I'll try to get through this as quickly as possible, but it's such a great question that you're asking. So let me give you, like, once upon a time, let's start there. Once upon a time, there were two children, and both of these children were raised with some sort of trauma, probably a narcissistic trauma. These children grew up. Nobody leaves a house with a narcissistic environment unscathed. So now you have two people who grow up and they have the same root trauma wound that happened to them, but based on their personality and also how they were treated as a child, they will merge into different outlets. Every child in the house will either become the golden child, and most golden children become a narcissist when they grow up. Or if they're more empathetic, an empath, they become, if they don't do their work, a wounded empath. There are only two types of relationships that make a narcissistic relationship sustainable: a narcissist plus a narcissist, or a narcissist and a self-deprecate. And the narcissist, they will end up breaking up because they're both fighting over the mirror, and they're not gonna, they don't like to fight for attention. When a narcissist gets a hold of an empath, that what they see is they see the depth of love and brightness and energy, what translates into fuel. And what I mean by that is a narcissist, imagine, is like a cell phone, in that if their battery is not constantly being charged with attention, with drama, with accolades, with tears, with whatever it is, that they begin to feel like they're do you remember when the wicked witch from the West in the Wizard of Oz, that I think water touched her or something like that, and all of a sudden she just kind of disappeared? That's what happens. That's what they feel inside, that they're literally going to evaporate. So they survive on what is called narcissistic fuel. And the way that they extract fuel is from people. And the narcissist has 3 levels of fuel that they extract, 3 types of people levels that they extract fuel. The first and primary, it's called the primary fuel source, is the person that they partner with. And it could be the partner, it could be the children, but normally it's the partner of the narcissist. And this relationship, they have to keep you around, because if you leave, their primary gas station is leaving, and they can't allow that to happen. That's why there's so much push and pull in the relationship. The second level are the flying monkeys, the people who drank the Kool-Aid and think that person's wonderful, but they don't really know them. They do the nasty work, the dirty work of the narcissist. They character assassinate the person. Whoever the narcissist is mad at, they're mad at. They'll spy on people, they'll gossip, they'll just do anything the narcissist asks. The third person that the narcissist fuel sources off is the tertiary person, is like the gas station attendant or the grocery store attendant, which is somebody that they can either flirt with and get some accolades, or they can yell at and get a reaction out of. But the most important person to that narcissist is the primary fuel source. And in the beginning of this relationship, that what happens is that, because the only way that we are attracted to a narcissist is because of our trauma wounds. And this person comes into our life and they seem bigger than life and they pedestal us. And there we go. And finally somebody loves me and sees me and gets me. Well, it's not that they get you. They've been researching you and collecting information, and they start to future fake. And so you start, and what they're doing, they're just conditioning you to fall in love. They've studied you and they're conditioning you to be able to fall deeply, deeply in love. And anywhere from a matter of months to 2 years, it will go from this honeymoon stage, or what I call the dream girl, dream boy stage, into what's called the degradation stage. And overnight, this person that had you on a pedestal will suddenly resent you and start to just chip away at you and do all their crazy shenanigans. And what happens is that that's fuel for them, because they got bored with the regular fuel of just being in love, because they're love limited, right? So it's not like love grows deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper with them. They're very love limited individuals. So you have complimented them probably all that has excited them. They suddenly are realizing, oh my God, they're human. She's just human, and that's just not enough for me. Like, why can't she make me feel the way that they're like children? Why can't she make me feel the way that I did when I first met her? Well, that's not reality based in relationships. Love evolves into different things. And because they lack that understanding, they end up resenting their target. They don't want to get rid of the target, but what they'll do is that they'll just start to chip away at the target. And now they get their fuel through seeing how crazy they can make him or her feel, how much they cry, how confused they can get them to feel, how much control they can have over their life. And now, one of the biggest wake up moments for me is when I had this epiphanic moment when I realized my tears, my pining to get back to what we were, was fuel sourcing him, that he was actually getting off on it. And I just said, never again. And that was the last day that I said, I will never, no matter what I'm feeling on the inside, will I show that type of emotion on the outside. Because I understood that all I was doing was fueling that person to continue the cycle.
And this is the way it is across the board, right? All these experiences are so similar to each other.
You know, in my program, Reclaiming Me, it's a 6-part module course. The first module is it's called, What is this? And I go in, I just explain in 5 or 6 classes, what is narcissism, what's narcissistic abuse, trauma, blah, blah, blah. The second module is called, What happened to me? And in this module, I identify the 13 common shenanigans, you can call them abuses, that the narcissist does that implements on their target, and how that psychologically and physically affects the target. And when I was really drawing out the bricks and mortar of the program, I said, really? Only 13? Because it feels so vast, the chaos that they cause. But they only have 13 little tools in their toolbox to create that. And once you can identify them, you're able to stop it in its tracks. You're gaslighting. Don't do that.
It's just so mind-blowing to me.
It's nice to have a curriculum and a program language.
Right. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll have another hour to continue to wander with you. Stay close, Tracy. We'll be right back.
Okay.
Hey members, the new KGRA DB app is now available on iOS and Android devices. Gain on-demand access to any KGRA DB programming. Download any show directly to your mobile device to listen or watch on the go. Go to the App Store and search KGRA DB.
Did you know 75% of Americans are chronically dehydrated? If you struggle with focus, run low on energy, or when it's time to finally sleep, you simply can't, this can all be linked to dehydration, and Fuel Up has the answer. Our proprietary formula contains the finest cellular hydration with the strongest immune-enhancing natural ingredients. The Fuel Up system is made up of 3 different incredibly tasting varieties. Wake kickstarts your day with a jolt of caffeine. Play boosts focus while hydrating your cells. Rest not only helps you relax, but also rejuvenates your cells while you sleep. Here's what our clients have to say.
I really don't miss my coffee, and you can tell the difference.
So I'm going to take it for the energy. I'm going to take it for the play. I'm going to take it, all day.
And it works. That's the thing. It works. We love it.
Take the Fuel Up Challenge now, where we offer a Feel the Difference money-back guarantee. Fuel Up for life.
You're listening to the KGRA Digital Broadcasting Network. We provide unparalleled coverage of trending news in the world of ufology, cryptozoology, and paranormal phenomenon. Whether you're watching our video live stream or listening to one of our audio programs, you are getting the best from world-renowned researchers and hosts, guiding you through topics the mainstream won't touch. Miss one of your favorite programs? No problem. Head over to the members area at kgradb.com for access to our massive library of award-winning content. Make contact, stay connected. Only at kgradb.com.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Soul Wanderings, Heard here on KGRADB.com, your number one paranormal and alternative talk network. We're not talking paranormal tonight, although it feels like it. Right?
Maybe sometimes you'd wonder if someone had a demon inside of them.
No, for reals.
If this, you're like, maybe it's paranormal.
Tonight we are hanging out with Dr. Tracy Kemble. She's a thought leader, entrepreneur, and empowerment expert. She's also all about sharing the self-love and helping you step into that space, which I just adore. If we could all love ourselves a little more, the world would be a better place.
It's so true.
And did you know that there was a research that came out the other day that said 70% of women don't love themselves?
Oh, that breaks my heart, but I believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been on a journey of self-love for a long time. And although I feel like I've arrived, there's always work to be done. Always work to be done.
There's all kinds of reasons, I would imagine, for that lack of women loving themselves.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. There are. It's you know what I found is my life slogan is self-love is a non-negotiable. And when I understood what self-love is, people say, oh, it's to love yourself. It's these what I feel are a bit superficial definitions. To me, the definition of self-love is the conscious relationship that we choose to have with ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I like that.
And conscious relationship that we choose to have with ourselves. And when we talk about self-love, the best visual that I can give you is self-love looks like a boardwalk, where when you stand on a boardwalk, it's plank by plank by plank by plank by plank. And self-love is a collection of these planks that we need to lay under our emotional feet. If it's only one plank, we would walk like we're on a tightrope, right? But when we have many planks, and that can include the right to our first voice, knowing where our home base is, reciprocity in relationships, the no-way zone. When we understand, and in my program, and actually in all my programs, be it from recovery to life empowerment, that it's rooted in this amazing thing called self-love. And it's about finding out what's the plank that I need to lay down. If my life is hurting and something is going wrong in my life, what plank am I missing? And happiness is that when you get so many planks underneath your emotional feet, that if one drops because of whatever reason in life, you're still okay. Mm-hmm. You're not gonna, which is a very common fear, and it's a real fear of I'll just speak in men and women because I'm female and I work with females, is that when a woman goes to leave a relationship, one of the reasons she doesn't leave is she literally feels like the world is going to swallow her up if she leaves this relationship, that she's been so stripped of her self-power, of her remembrance of her self-power. And one of my mantras that I give to all of my students or my clients that come through the door is, a mantra that says, I am more powerful than I remember. I am more powerful than I remember, because we are such powerful beings. Mm-hmm. We just forget that when we have somebody who, rather than loves us, fuel sources us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, I love all of that. That's so good. That's the warm and fuzzy good stuff.
And the beautiful thing is one of the things that I have, I believe that we all have gifts. And since we're talking about paranormal, that I channel, and I channel this amazing source spirit called the Divine Feminine. And it's just these wonderful instruction manuals all about self-love, and self-love in relation to recovery, self-love in relation to empowerment, self-love in relation to relationships, and self-love in relation to business. And it's just the most magical journey that I entered into maybe 15 years ago. And it still crave learning more, and every time I learn something more, I fall more in love with the subject. Mm-hmm. It's just, I can't get enough of it still 15 years in.
Well, on your journey to self-love, you obviously remembered who you were.
Yes.
Right? And
I
you knew
found
what you were
her.
meant to be doing.
I did. And one thing, and I was just speaking to somebody yesterday about this, that they were continuing to allow themselves to go crazy because of the narcissist, and they are still trying to make logic out of the illogic. And what I shared with them was, you have got to stop making this person who has a love deficiency your North Star or your world's access. Because what you're trying to do is you're trying to stabilize yourself on something that's not stable. You are basing your choices. And I know that one of the glitches that I made along the way is because the narcissist is normally a very dynamic person, a very powerful person, a very charismatic person. We don't fall in love with they're not toads. They show up in all their glory. And so that's what that's what we're so impressed with. And so what happens is that they really convince us, and many of them are brilliant in the mind. And so their command of communicating and of just making life happen so many times, we get convinced that they are the norm, that they've got this thing called life down, but they don't. But what happens to us is that part of that conditioning is we make them that access in our world, and we're basing everything off of it. And so when they do what they do, and it doesn't make sense to our normal mind, that's when we start to spin. But when you can cut that tie and to say, no, I am dealing with somebody who has a love deficit. They have a love handicap. And yes, it's easy to be angry and whatnot. It's taken me years in my recovery to come to this point, but it's no different than screaming at somebody who may suffer from autism. Speak! They can't speak. They're on the spectrum. Narcissistic personality disorder is a spectrum disorder. So we don't need to be losing our mind. We need to have the reality check that we are not dealing with somebody who understands love. So we need to stop trying to extract love from them.
Mm-hmm.
That totally makes sense. That's what I was.
Yeah, it
my
does make a
impression
lot of sense. So they don't have an awareness of what they're doing, right? You say that they plan out and seek out a specific type of person.
Yes.
But also they lack empathy and awareness in a lot of ways. So are there different? There obviously are different types, like you explained earlier, but like, where's the line of awareness?
Depends on how far up the scale they are. Mm-hmm. See, if they're in the narcissistic characteristics, I would say that they're not necessarily doing it out of intention. They're doing it out of survival. Mm-hmm. As it moves on up the scale, I think that they're very intentional. They're like, okay, this person has something that I need, and I'm going to go take it. And I'm going to do whatever needs to happen for me to get my need met.
See, that's where my mind I just can't understand that way of thinking. I have such a hard time wrapping my head around someone being that selfish, like that manipulative. Like, I just don't understand it at all.
Probably because you're, pardon?
That's because she's on the other side of the spectrum.
I was going to say, because you're an empath, and an empath just can't understand how people empaths, such jewels of life. They're the marshmallows of life. They just feel good and are pretty, and
it's a blessing and a curse.
It is. It's the best blessing. I'm an empath, and when I was in an interview yesterday, and they were asking me about this person on the opposite side of a narcissist, and I said, I have a name for it. They said, what's that? And I said, it's the wounded empath. It's the wounded And when the empaths through that journey of healing, that's what you signed up for. That's what we signed up for before we got here. That we can then do what we have been put on this earth to do, which is to heal and to mend and to prepare and to inspire. That's our job. That's what we signed up for. And one of the pieces, as in PEACE, that I have come to is I'm an empath. I have been put on this earth to share these beautiful jewels of what it means to authentically love yourself. And had I not gone through the trauma of narcissistic abuse, the exact opposite of what self-love is, right? That contrast wouldn't allow me to do what I do today. If I came into this earth as a healed empath and, I just was more like Mother Teresa, where, nothing really hurt except for, the ache of another person. But I didn't. I didn't. I came in and I experienced this thing called narcissistic trauma and narcissistic abuse almost my young life and then all the way into my adult life. But now where I am, it was just the contrast in the painting. And a painting cannot be beautiful without contrast.
I love that.
That's life.
It's so good to hear these things because it's a reminder, when you're recovering from any kind of abuse, but for me, mine, obviously narcissistic abuse, but that entangled mental, physical, emotional, like all the things, right?
Right.
It feels really comforting to have the validation that like I wasn't crazy. And I see that with people who are going through it or are getting out of it, how they feel like they're the ones that have the problem, that they feel like they don't matter and they're the ones that need the help, which they do need help, obviously, but like on a way of being mentally ill. Like I really felt like I needed to be locked up.
Well, and that's what trauma does. When I first went into my recovery, this was years before narcissism was a buzzword on social media and radio, what have you. But when I first went into recovery, I walked into the office and the therapist did what the therapist, said what this therapists are supposed to say. Why are you here? And the only thing that I could say was, because I feel invisible and that my mind is mush. And that's how I felt. And that's not a strong place to be, is invisible with a mushy brain. And it took several months, almost up to a year, of going to different therapists and whatnot. And finally it was a female therapist. And she says, have you ever, and she was way ahead of her time. She's like, have you ever been exposed to narcissism? I'm like, kind of like, well, what's that? And so that was, kind of moving into it. And where I got stuck on my journey was that somebody handed me at one point a book, and I think the book was called The Malignant Narcissist or something like that. And the malignant narcissist is a near sociopath, right? And so I read the book. It was very confusing to me, because my brain was mush and I couldn't absorb things. And I abandoned the concept that I might be with a narcissist because my narcissist didn't check all the boxes. And so because it didn't check all the boxes, and at that time, people didn't explain, this is a spectrum disorder. It's not like pregnancy where either you are or you're not. It's a spectrum disorder. And now what they've discovered within narcissism is that, in the past where there was just the malignant narcissist or the grandiose narcissist, there's like 7 different types of narcissism out there. And so we can be dealing with a narcissist, and the underlying thing is their lack of empathy and all roads leading back to self. And you just, when you leave that person, you're always feeling, especially as an empath, you're feeling drained. there's always that fogginess that you're not quite clear, especially if there was an argument, what you argued over, or that there was no resolve in the arguments. I mean, there's these telltale signs that say that you are with a narcissist.
Right. So tell us about your book, Narctionary. Like, what is it? How does it obviously it's a dictionary of some kind.
It's a dictionary.
It's on the title.
It has. So this is like a beautiful woman or person, and this is the trauma. And these are all the things that will help untangle it. So this is a real, I had a good time writing this book, because this book came about so easy in that it was about 9 months ago, and a girlfriend of mine broke up with she was discarded by a narcissist. They had been married for 12 years. He had a lot of money. And one day she called me and she's crying. And I'm like, what's going on? She's like, I know that you deal with this world, and maybe you can help me or share with me. And so what she begins to share with me is how everything was fine. And then all of a sudden it wasn't. Mm-hmm. And in one day he came home and he's like, done, out, you're leaving. And she was devastated. And I said, I'm sorry. I said, that's called the discard. She goes, what? It's called the discard. What's the discard? The discard is the third phase of the narcissistic abuse cycle, that the narcissist puts you out just like trash and moves on with their life. Oh my gosh. And she said, but, leading up to it, it was like one day, he was there to help me. And then the next day he would just pull the rug out of underneath me. And I never knew, does he love me? Does he hate me? I said, well, that's called the hurt to rescue technique. What's the hurt to rescue technique? It's when a narcissist will push you up to pull you up, to push you down, to pull you up, to push you down, to pull you up, to push you down. It's a way to extract fuel and to remain control and to break your spirit so that you stay in the relationship and feel dependent on them. Oh. And the worst thing, she says, was whenever we would get in an argument, first off, I never knew what we were arguing about, and nothing ever got resolved. And I felt more confused when I left the relationship when I left the argument than I went going into it. And I said, well, probably because blame shifting happened. What's that? When they reverse the blame, that you tried to resolve it, and they suddenly flip it on its head, and you're being held accountable for what they feel like you did wrong to reach that point. And I said, and as far as the confusing conversation, you were word saladed. What's a word salad? A word salad is when a narcissist takes so many words and jumbles them up in a conversation so that your head is just spinning and it's your brain is tousled. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of this conversation, she says, Tracy, you should take all these words and put them in a dictionary so we newbies can just figure out and understand that we're not crazy, and that all these crazy techniques have a name. And I literally grabbed my cell phone that during my recovery, because I would sit in therapy and I'm like, what's triangulation? And, all these different words that I had never heard about before. What's a pink cloud syndrome? And I just began to write them down. So when she did that, I said, I actually already have a document that I use just for myself, and it's been a lifesaver for me. So I pulled it together. I categorized it, not just alphabetically, but also I identify if it's a narcissistic abuse word, if it's a narcissistic trauma word, or a narcissistic recovery word. And then I also have a self-assessment test in there, so that, the more boxes you check means the more you're suffering or recovering in this area.
Oh, that's helpful. I can't imagine how many people are in situations or just getting out of situations and wondering, what is it that I'm going through, or what is it that I just went through, and not having an understanding. I know for me personally, mine was a little more dramatic in how I realized what was happening, because it literally led me to having an NDE. And coming out of that experience because of the abuse was like I didn't know which way was up or down, right? So, but like anyone else in that situation probably feels similar regardless. and not understanding or knowing what happened to them. Like I said earlier, you just feel crazy and you don't understand what's happening. You feel so lost and confused. And so the amount of people that you're able to assist by writing this book is and will continue to be substantial.
Well, thank you. I just want to encourage you that throughout my program, I have these various little mantras with each of the teachings that you can hold on to in your prayer and meditation time and repeat it to yourself. And I want to just share one with you based on what you just said. Crazy people don't know that they're going crazy. So if something in your life feels crazy, it means it is crazy and needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
And so that's the memo from Normal Land. When it comes
well, I get the memo now. I understand it all now. But when you're like in it, you don't know which way is up or down.
When we're in it, we say, oh my God, I'm going crazy. I'm going crazy. But when you have that internal boundary that says, no, crazy people don't know they're going crazy. So if I'm feeling crazy, then something in my life is crazy. So what is that? What is crazy in my life? And then we realize we are trying to make logic out of an illogical person. We're trying to have love with the person who just wants fuel. And let's remove the judgment from it. Let's say that there's not a right or wrong, just what's good for you and what's not good for you. And what's not good for me is loving people who have a self-love deficiency disorder. It's not good for me.
No, not at all. It's not good for anybody. Did you have a question, Natalie?
Well, or a comment, or maybe it'll turn into. One thing that I've found in the work that I do is vocabulary. It's really basic. Like we go all the way back to elementary or any basic educational things. Vocabulary is so important. Like to have a vocabulary around a concept. And so I gather that from when you were talking about it, people then can have a vocabulary and through that an education. And the other thing that I noticed is that you have this, perhaps call it a reconditioning process, where you take people and you expose them and you give them a vocabulary. And then you take them through a reconditioning process. So someone who's been conditioned by a narcissist needs to recondition themselves to love differently. And so I love that your program offers this reconditioning because it's deep programming.
It's deep programming, and those brain channels never go away. You just have to carve new electrical currents in your brain, and you have to learn new ways to respond. You have to reframe how you interpret things. For me, I had to change the definition of normal. And that's tough.
Sure.
It's like, telling a blind person what color, define blue.
Right.
I didn't know what normal was. And the whole journey, I don't think that if I understood self-love, I wouldn't have been able to also set my normal, healthy normal.
Right. That it's just lovely. It feels really that it can be really clean, but it takes a while. So do you find people have the patience and the stamina? Or do you find some people just can't take that amount of time?
That's a really good question. Recovering from narcissistic abuse is no different than getting sober, in that you have to be ready. Meaning, I'm not saying you have to be ready to leave, because it is nobody's business whether you stay or leave. And in fact, I have in my program, we have people that are in the relationship. And in narcissism, they say that, the best way to heal is something called no contact. And for me, that was not an option. And so what I've incorporated into my program, it's actually module 5 in the program, and it's called When No Contact is Not an Option. If this is a parent that you want to choose to have what limited time we have left with our parent relationship, if it's your child, if it's somebody that you're co-parenting with, let's say that you divorced, but what if it's your boss that you're working with? So for me to really be able to walk in my recovery, I needed more than just to walk away. I clearly understood this condition is not going away. And so I better learn how to hold on to myself regardless of who the narcissist is in my life. So I'm a firm believer that, you know, nobody has the right to tell you to leave or stay. I was just working with a client again yesterday, and they chose to stay. And I have this thing in the recovery that I call it our narcissistic fire suit. And I said, so if you're going to be with a narcissist, you know, eyes wide open, stop pretending that this person is normal, because they're not normal. Stop basing your access on them, and what you just put on your fire suit. Because if somebody has, let's say, narcissistic characteristics, this person goes into benign moments in their personality where all of a sudden you'll say, oh, there they are. Oh, they're back. There's a great problem. Oh my God. Whew, it's over, you know? But because they're on the spectrum, it will come out. And happiness is when the second that you see that they start their shenanigans, the gaslighting, the blame shifting. In my book, you know, I have even some really funny names, and I call it Mr. and Mrs. Breathy. And Mr. and Mrs. Breathy, when Mr. and Mrs. Breathy shows up, that's a narcissistic abusive behavior. And Mr. and Mrs. Breathy, when they walk in and they have a face, they have that face, and they're vibing. You can feel it. Empaths can always feel when the narcissist is walking in, and you look at them and you're like, hi. What's the matter? Nothing. And so now I have narcissists in my life that we have chosen to stay connected, understanding that this is an open conversation. And now the way I handle it is when somebody behaves that way, I say, why, you know, the male, why is Mr. Breathy here? Or it's a female, why is Mrs. Breathy showing up? And they look at me, what? I said, well, you're talking in a very breathy voice. You're not being honest. You're obviously upset about something. So why don't you use your words and just tell me what you're upset about, rather than sending me these messages that I've obviously disappointed you with something, which perhaps it's not even me that you're disappointed with. It's probably something that happened to you, but you're choosing to try to spill it over to me. So just use your words and tell me what's wrong. And of course that doesn't always work, but if this person has narcissistic characteristics, and so if they can switch into a benign moment, they will stabilize themselves and we can have a conversation. And if they don't, then I put my fire suit on and I go on with my life.
I love that. There's a fire suit in my closet, but I didn't understand. I get it now. You know, when you just, as an empath, you have to shield up quite a bit. But I'm going to call it a fire suit from now on.
Yeah, because I just don't want to get burned. Because, you know, when an empath gets burned, first off, it burns all the way to our soul. Mm-hmm. Number one, those are deep burns. And number two, it takes us a bit to get over it. Mm-hmm. You know, we have memories like elephants, even though we're fierce forgivers. Mm-hmm. But we also we don't forget easily.
Right. Say someone's listening to the program right now and they are in some type of experience with a narcissist and having an aha moment. Like they're like, have no awareness of what narcissism is up until now, or they have an awareness and they're wondering some steps on what they can do to possibly remove themselves from that situation. What would you say to them?
So the first thing I want to say is you're not crazy. That whenever we're in a relationship, we are not supposed to feel blurry. That one of the clearest places in life needs to be when we're in our own body and we're with the people that say they love us. And if we get that hazy confusion, there's something going on, and you're not crazy that you're feeling that way. Remember, crazy people don't know they're going crazy. So if you feel like you're going crazy, there's something crazy in your life that needs to be fixed. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to understand that there are various ways to exit. If you are in the position that you can exit, I would recommend trying to exit the relationship. There is a right and a wrong way to leave a narcissistic relationship, because if you leave and you cause a narcissistic injury, that person is going to retaliate against you. And so you have to be very, very smart. So what I recommend is just slow step backs, just very slow step backs, very slow step backs. So they can not really recognize that you're stepping back. There's a technique. You have to stop sharing your life with them, because they're not sharing life with you. They're collecting data on you to be able to come back and kerplunk you later for fuel. So one of the things that I recommend is, it's a technique for the victim of narcissistic abuse, or the target of narcissistic abuse, and it's a technique called gray rocking. And what gray rocking is basically you get a personality of a gray rock. And so when the narcissist comes and like, hey, how are you? Great. Like, why? Like, why are you great? I mean, what's going on? Everything good with your family? How's your job? It's great. Mm-hmm. Well, what do you mean by great? It's good. Anyways, how are you? And so you give them zero access to your soul. Now, here's what will happen is the reason that the narcissist continues to come after you and come after you and come after you is because they know they can get fuel. So if you stop giving them fuel, they'll go find fuel somewhere else.
Oh my gosh, it's so true.
Mm-hmm. They don't want to work for their fuel.
No, they don't want to work for their fuel. They do not want to work for their fuel. The only work that they want to see is you pining after them.
So that sounds like there's this a shifting from like being victimized to just like a level of empowerment, mm-hmm. But you just recognize that how you are being victimized and stop doing those things.
Yeah, it's a series of step by step. Of course, when most people come into my program, they are raw.
Oh, sure.
They are raw. They are just, I live half the year here in Greece, or here in California, and half the year in Greece. And in Europe, sometimes when you go into certain areas, they will have butcher shops, and those are traumatizing to me anyways. But I remember walking around a corner, and their poor thing, it was a skinned rabbit. And I was looking at it and I said, my God, that's how I feel. I feel that literally my skin has been ripped off my being. And I felt that raw, just from the trauma that I have been through because of another person. And so, there's a process in our recovery program that, first we have to get these precious souls stabilized and to stop feeling like they're crazy. And so that's our first thing, is we just come in and we try to get you stabilized, to get you some vocabulary in you to understand you're not crazy. It has a name. This is what's happened to you. This is what your body's going through, your mind, your psyche. And then once we get them stabilized and they're able to just kind of get their wherewithal, then we dive into the external healing. This is what they're doing, this is how it affects you. Then the internal healing, which is, why was a narcissist attracted to me? Why was I attracted to the narcissists? Why, when all the warning signs said no, don't, I ran back as fast as I can? What's a trauma wound? What are the spiritual connections that we have? How do we untether that? And then we clearly treat, in the next module, we clearly treat the CPTSD, because there's a very specific wound that comes out of narcissistic trauma, and it's not post-trauma stress disorder, which a lot of people go for help for that, but that's not going to help 100%. It's something called CPTSD, and it stands for complex post-trauma stress disorder. Mm-hmm. And you specifically have to treat the complex post-trauma stress disorder in order for the person to be able to recover. And then after that, we began to talk about, life after narcissism, when no contact is an option. And then at the end of the program, learning how to, at the right time, believe in your dreams again, and learning to rebuild your life, because most people who leave or are discarded from a narcissistic relationship have had a lot taken from them. Many times they're financially ruined. Many times they have given up on so many of their friends and family and connection that they have to start over. It's a very scary place. And the road back to your life. And our program takes 1 year. We have a 1 year recovery program, and they're weekly classes. We haven't missed a class in 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Because we're just committed. And the beautiful thing, it only costs $10 a week to heal. And
that's
lovely. Because you know
Now
what?
where we can refer people to.
Right.
Yes, and if they mention your program, they can be our guest the first time. And as host, you can have a complimentary year-long course and come check us out and refer your people there, and we will grab a hold of them and love them back to wellness and get them help them reclaim their life after narcissistic abuse.
That's very gracious. Thank you.
It's lovely to know that that's out there and affordable, because a lot of times things seem to be a little bit more out of reach.
That was my what I encountered, is that I had lost my financial standing because of the narcissistic relationship, and I needed help. And therapy was so expensive. And when I came out of it, I fast forward my life, I was remarried, and my husband said to me one day, "What are you going to do with all this knowledge that you have?" And my response was, "Nothing. I am moving on with my life. I am never looking back," And he's like, "I don't agree with that." And I was mad at him for like a month. And then, I got one of my downloads, and I was really clearly drawn into having to do something about this. And that's why it's so affordable.
Yeah. I appreciate that so very much. I remember coming out of my situation and I'm like, what do I do now? Like literally rebuild my life. And how do I do that? Because you're right. Therapy is so expensive, although I'm grateful for it. And that's an option for some people. But sometimes when you're left with nothing, you have nothing to give.
Yeah. And you can't afford the help. And it's one thing to say, I want to take a class on how to build my brand. Okay, I don't have the money for that right now. Well, okay, then figure that out. But no person should ever say, I need a class to help save my life. Well, you better save up for that. What? People who are in narcissistic relationships don't realize that they have been in a collision. And they have been critically injured, hit by an emotional Mack truck. It wasn't a fender bender, and you need help and recovery to get better.
Right. It's very true. Very, very true. In your book, you have over 350 definitions or names for all of these experiences. That's a lot, first of all.
Yeah.
What are some of the most common that would be beneficial for people to know before they grab your book?
Oh my goodness. Well, I mean, all of them are so beneficial. Okay, I just opened up the book to L. There's love bombing. And love bombing is really important to know that there's a difference between love and love bombing. And I was speaking to a group of teens or young women in their 20s this past week. And I was saying one of the sure signs that you need to be aware of is that a narcissist comes in hot. They come in hot and they come in fast. And if somebody is moving too fast, this needs to be a warning sign. It's not a sign of love, because love doesn't push. And a great tester of a relationship is to take that pause, to say, yeah, I know that we've spent the past 3 weekends together, but I think I'm going to go with my girlfriends this weekend and see how that person responds.
Yes.
If they go like, dang it, I just love spending time, but have a great time and, be safe. That's love. But somebody said, your girlfriends, but we could have our time together and what we have is so great. And they talk you out of connecting with other people. That's a warning sign.
Yeah, actually love bombing is one of those trending words right now also. Just like with narcissists and gaslighting, it's become overused, I would say.
Yeah. It's like a song that's overplayed on the radio that
Right.
You're not hearing it anymore. Let's see, what's another one? Well, here's a cerebral narcissist. Because there's different types of narcissism. A cerebral narcissist is a narcissist who bases their entire narcissistic tendencies and self-image on their mind or their intellectual pursuits. And this is somebody who just simply thinks that they are smarter than you and the rest of the world, and they will speak down to you and whatnot. But would you like to know what my favorite word is in the book?
Yes.
My favorite word was a term that was given to me. And it was one of those cold water in my face moments when I heard it. So as a trauma victim since childhood with narcissism, I still have this insane ability to be able to tolerate the intolerable. And I always say that if I could draw a picture of myself, the way in hindsight, that I would see myself with my hand on the electric stove burner, and my hand would be sizzling. And because people would see what I would be tolerating, the normal people would walk by and be like, "Oh my God, doesn't that hurt? Uh-huh. Do you want to remove it? Can I?" Because of my trauma, I didn't know I had that power.
We were just talking about that. Not with that analogy, but it's
That's
like
a pretty powerful
it is
one.
like that.
So So when I had this complete understanding that I didn't have the power. I know it hurts. And so I understood that part of my recovery was looking myself in the face and say, Tracy, you have an insane ability to tolerate the intolerable. And you just need to remember this. And I had to get in touch with it. It would be nothing for me to sit in pain for months and months and months and years and years and years until I'm nearly collapsing, and then I'll go get help. Right? This is not just me, many women. So one day I'm along my journey, and once again, I had attracted more narcissists in my life, and I'm tolerating low grades of sufferance, medium grades of sufferance, higher grades of sufferance. And let's say it was running at the lower to mid. And it was said to me, and the term that is my favorite in the book, it's called poop in your soup. And the way that this was taught to me was, Tracy, tolerating even an ounce of narcissistic abuse is no different than having a drop of poop in your soup. Poop in your soup is never okay. And so that was such a wake-up moment for me, because for the first time in my life, I was able to give myself permission to equate, you don't have to tolerate even 10 minutes of narcissistic abuse. It's just not okay. And so that's my personal favorite in the book, is poop in your soup.
It makes sense.
It reminds me, we have an analogy of just a little bit of cat stuff in the brownies. Very similar. It's just a little bit.
Just a little bit. What's the problem? What's the problem?
You won't even taste it.
But you will.
but the whole concept, it's really powerful. Our minds love analogies, don't they?
They do.
It's easier to understand a lot of different ideas and concepts through analogies.
Right.
We're really good at getting in our own way. So I think that helps us have those aha moments.
Oh, for sure.
Tracy, I want to touch a little bit on the other things that you do. You don't just share about narcissism and the recovery and wrote a book about it. You're also the author of several other books that are all very empowering. Yes. Do you want to share a little bit about those real quick?
So my life post-trauma recovery, I, of course, continue to evolve and grow. And today I'm the owner of the International Feminine Boss Academy and Society. And our slogan is, I teach women how to become the boss of their be and their business with feminine energy. And so, there is life after abuse, and there are dreams, and it is so fun in life when we can learn to monetize our dreams, because then we can just get up and be wealthy dreamers, and really be able to do. Yeah, really be able to do what we're called to do. And so my biggest thing right now is beyond the narcissistic recovery, is to taking women to that next adventure, was to really be able to not just reclaim your life, but step into your life. Mm-hmm. And going back to the other, and we run an international conference. It's called Discover the Divine. It takes place every year in Greece. 5 days, 4 nights in the Greek Riviera, and we learn all about operating in the divine energy and the feminine energy, which can be ripped from us when we go through any type of trauma. But it's such a powerhouse thing to have, and it's so that's how I spend my days in and out, is just working with women and enjoying this. Life is just such a beautiful magical journey. And we can't remain stuck in the trauma. Mm-hmm. We have to find our way out to be able to enjoy it, because we signed up to get here, and we need to remember that we chose parts of these battles. But one of the things I'll share with you, and this is a really beautiful insight. It is absolutely impossible for us in life to avoid difficult times. It's impossible. So we need to forget about this idea of not having problems. The problem is that as women, we are not given what I call my memos from Normal Land. We are not taught how to do life in many situations. And I'll share a quick true story, that I was in Greece and I was invited over to lunch with my girlfriend. And she had 3 kids, 2 girls and 1 boy. And her boy, Yanni, went outside and he was playing, and he was around 6 years old. And he came inside and he was crying. And his father said, "Why are you crying, Yanni?" And he said, "Because Dimitri took my truck." And his father said, "Well, what did you do?" And he said, "Well, I'm in here and I'm crying, I'm everything." He goes, "Yanni, turn around, go back in the backyard, take your truck back from Dimitri, and say, 'Dimitri, you don't come into my house and take the things that are mine. You ask if you can have my things.'" And I about fell off my chair, because I said, "Oh, that's not how I was raised. I would have been told, you need to stop crying. Don't be selfish. You need to learn to share in life. So turn your frown upside down and forget about the truck." And so I was really convicted, like, we women aren't given some basic survival skills that we need in order to flourish in life. And one of the first things I do in the Feminine Boss Academy is I teach women, I help women identify what our non-negotiables need to be. Because as women, we negotiate our financial security, we negotiate our safety, we negotiate our peace of mind, we negotiate our self-love, we negotiate our self-value. We are constantly negotiating away things that we're not, they're supposed to be non-negotiables. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you a really interesting, how I came to this awareness. that I was speaking once with this narcissist that was in my life. And I was at that stage of my recovery where I'm, why? And do you know what you did? And that type of a thing. And my comment was something along the lines of, and I suffered for so many years because of what you did. And his response was, well, why would you do that?
Mm-hmm.
And I about fell over. I said, what? He goes, why would you do that? If I'm suffering in a relationship, I'll leave. Game changer. So along this journey, we just need certain tools that we need for survival and to have joy.
Yeah, the joy.
The things you can learn right out of the narcissist going, oh, I can do that? I can do that? Oh, yeah?
Can I?
That's amazing. We have about 5 more minutes. I want to make sure that everyone knows how to find you and also connect to you for any of your programs or joining your groups or possibly going to
Thank
cruise or
you.
any of that good stuff.
So first, the book, The Narctionary. Yay. It can be found on Amazon.com. It's just like dictionary, only Narctionary for narcissism. My website is My website is drtracy.tv. And there you can find out about the Reclaiming Me program. Anybody who joins, mentions this class, this program, and you can be our guest, our first-time guest for free. Just come check us out. It's a super safe, positive, inspiring, vulnerable, gentle, protected, and healing environment. Lots to learn, and we're there every Wednesday night and every Thursday night, different times. In different time zones. So we haven't missed a class in 30 years, as I mentioned earlier. And you can follow me on Instagram at Dr. Tracy Kemble. There we go. And my program is called Reclaiming Me. So you'll also probably see something pop up that's called Reclaiming Me with Dr. Tracy Kemble.
So good. So good. Do you have anything else for our guests tonight?
I'm just like absorbing.
Do you feel empowered and inspired?
There's some things I am just resonating. We've talked about it before, but I study the human design, which takes in astrology and different things. And I have a theory about like the nature of someone's design and their vulnerability to narcissism. So that's kind of like bubbling up and I'm contemplating that there happens to be some particulars like a personality type or something like that actually makes a particular personality type or something within a person's nature that is that, if you want to call it, a vulnerability. And I'm just thinking about that and education in those things. Someone I talked to today, it was a man, and he said, I feel invisible. And like that he was being called a narcissist, but he didn't feel like that was, but he said that I feel invisible in this world. And it's like, wow, it's so many people are touched by this. So I'm happy that there's like this so that people can, like, there's an opportunity to not be entrapped by it. Suffering is optional.
Exactly. And I just want to add one last thing is that narcissism, it does not have a preference of gender. That it happens just as much to men as it does to women. And so if you're a male and you're feeling any of this conversation resonates with you, that narcissists also come in female forms. And so you could be also suffering the trauma that goes with being with a female narcissist.
Yeah.
I love that you brought that up. That leads me to one more question. Are you born a narcissist, or is this a conditioning or a chemical imbalance, or what is it? What makes someone a narcissist?
I personally don't believe that we are born a narcissist. I believe that it's environmental and that it stems in childhood trauma. And it's just something that continues generation after generation after generation, learned behavior after learned behavior after learned behavior.
Isn't that interesting?
So it tends to be like a family dynamic many times.
Yes.
But it begins somewhere.
Sure.
It begins to me. It begins in
the
your
golden
family
child.
unit. You know, we come into this world as just these pure, innocent beings, and you know, children, they don't lack self-love. We are taught not to love ourselves, or shamed into religiousized into not thinking that we have the right to love ourselves. But a child doesn't, you know, have low self-esteem at 6 months old and 1 year old.
Oh.
We are these innocent, beautiful, white canvases that what happens to us in our environment just starts to paint the picture of our self-concept.
That makes so much sense.
Yes, it does.
Dr. Tracy, it's been such a pleasure having you here on the show with us tonight. I've learned so much. I know that our listeners are awfully quiet tonight. They must be listening
They're
deeply.
just absorbing it all.
Normally, everyone's very active, so that tells me something right there. Your time is so much appreciated, and we thank you so very much.
Thank you so much. You guys keep up the good work, because the work is good.
Yeah, teamwork makes the dream work, girl.
So does.
And for those of you who need a little reminder, drtracy.tv. That's where you can learn all about Dr. Tracy and all that she's up to, and connect to her there, and also grab her book, The Narctionary, on Amazon.com. I want to give a big shout out to our listeners tonight. Thank you for hanging out with us, and to our producer for being so on top of it.
She's lovely.
It's kind of a big deal.
Yes.
Yep. And to all of you, we'll see you all next week. Be good to yourself and be good to each other.
And have a good one.
Good night.